Welcome to a special Sisterhood episode of Pretty Smart 2. Today, we're thrilled to welcome Lindsey, skincare expert, entrepreneur, and yes, my sister. With nearly 50 years in the beauty industry and her own skincare line built on quality ingredients and real results, Lucy brings a wealth of experience to the conversation. Welcome, Lindsey.
I've done it, almost 50 years.
Yeah.
Been in the business.
I know. When I first typed it, I was like, gosh, how many years? I wonder. And I started thinking, and I think I put over 30 years. And I was like, wait, I've been doing it for 25 years. So she's been doing it longer than 30
Right.
years.
Well, because I'll be 70 and I started when I was 18. Well, really
Yeah.
19. Really 19. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really not. I know. It's unreal.
And look how you look 30. So, it
No,
obviously
well, yeah. Well,
works.
that's
All
the
of the
ring
things that you've
light.
been doing. We could all just walk around with like the filters and the ring lights and all that around us. And
I really try not to use a filter that much. I mean, I don't, because I can tell immediately when individuals do that, especially the heavy ones that, that's just like with me. I don't do any injectables or anything. I love them and I refer people all the time to do them depending on what's going on with their skin and what they want. But I personally don't do it because I feel like it's almost dishonest to do that.
you know what? Yeah. I used to get them when I worked for doctors. They encourage
Exactly.
you and it's free. And it's always kind of a slow day. And you're like, sure, let's get some new lips. That'll be great. And I'll get them and I'll love them and I'll walk around, buy all these new lip glosses and I enjoy them so much. But I feel the same way because it's almost like body dysmorphia. Things I don't like about working in the industry is that some people really benefit from them, the injections and all and everything,
Yes,
Botox
that's
and all
right.
of that.
That's
And
right.
it does make a huge difference and it's beautiful and it's great. But then you get these people that come through that they don't know when to stop. It's like they can't see themselves or they think that they're ugly without it. And it's not, they're not, they
And
just look like people.
no, they're not. And I think I know I go back and forth with that being in the beauty industry because it's such a physical industry. And I love all women. I think everybody is beautiful and I really do. And I think that's a job too for us to bless them and lift them up and talk about, your eyes or this are so beautiful and,
Yeah.
focus on those things and not just constantly want another level because we're
Yes.
all going to get older, all of us.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
just the way it is. I mean, I can, help but a lot of women really aren't interested. I love that. A lot of my customers will come in and go, "Oh, I don't have time. I don't want to mess with it." So I know immediately what to do for them because they
Yeah.
don't want to do all that. They're not going to do it. They're ones that are going to stop. They're going to do it for 2 weeks and then maybe 3 weeks. And then and that's not what I want.
Yeah. No. Well, then you also get the clients that come in or the patients that come in and they think, well, it's not the skincare. I'm just going to use the Botox and that's going to fix it. And then, so they get the Botox. I see it in people's before and afters all the time where they've had all this Botox and their skin, their skin looks terrible, but their muscles are frozen. And so they aren't getting new creases, but they have that old skin, that thick skin laying on top, and it just does not benefit them at all.
No.
It's like, I think it was like 40% of your fine lines, deep wrinkles, and discoloration is just dead skin. So if you get rid of that, you have 40% more youthful skin. And most people, I feel like, are pleased with that. That's what they want. They want that refresh, not just a frozen, swollen look, Yeah, but
Exactly.
they don't know, and people just sell them. Well, here's this $1,700 treatment of all this filler and Botox, da da da, and then they don't, say what's going to get rid of all that crepiness is the skincare.
And teach
Yes,
them. that, we're getting into, what we're going to talk about because
Yeah.
that's so true. And it really discourages me. And I say this to customers all the time that, a lot of my customers, of course, are my age, and I have all a realm of customers from, 30 to 80, but it discourages me that they still at that age do not really know what they're doing. They don't know why. They don't know the order. They have all of these products, and it's very discouraging to me because they spend all that money. Think about the money that they've wasted. I mean, not really wasted, but really they kind of have because
Yeah.
they don't know what they're doing, and I think it's so important to write it down. I have everything written,
Yes.
everything.
Yes. Well,
So
I think that right there is going to kick off our episode because you're going to share how that's so important. You've been in this industry for many, many years and you wouldn't have the return clientele coming back to you if they thought you were just going to waste their money and throw it away. So, Lucy, I'm excited that you're here with us on Pretty Smart too. Thank you for joining us
thank
today.
you.
And let's get started.
Okay. Well, I'm so excited to be here, Laura. I mean, my sister, that is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I've told several people that I'm going to do this and they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's your sister." And so
Yeah.
it's great. It's great.
Yeah. It's our Sisterhood episode today.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Well, I do. I have a little short story because this is something I've thought about so often because we are in the same industry. And as you know, my mother died when I was young, and I've always thought that I was a lot like my mother, and I am. But then here you came, and I thought, oh my gosh, my dad, I must have gotten a lot of this DNA from daddy
Yeah.
because Laura is right behind me doing I mean, you've done such amazing things. Honestly, I brag on you all the time about how
Oh,
wonderful your life and how, you and Austin have just been so focused on what you're doing and your family. Just such a great balance and so many fun things, just like this. I've done a lot of blogs, but I've never done a shared blog. So this is my first one. And how special is that?
yeah.
Yeah.
So great. Well, I thank you so much for being here. And I thought about, did I follow your footsteps? Is that what I wanted to do? And I think that you definitely encouraged me. So, when I was about 4 or 5 years old and hearing people in our family talk about you with such pride and admiration, and there was always a positive glow that would come over people. They would talk about, oh, Lucy, and what Lucy's doing, and what Dawn's doing, and what is happening, and what, um, your businesses and how proud and then even and beauty things. I remember my mom
Yeah.
was arching her eyebrows one day with a razor. And I think it was like my aunt said to her, I don't know if you're supposed to do that. And she was like, oh, it's fine. Lucy told me. And so she was like dermaplaning her face like
Yeah.
back
Wow.
in the day.
It's funny. That's so funny you brought that up because I had a client like 2 days ago that had quite a bit of facial hair. And right before she left, I did a consult with her. She said, what can I do about, planing my face? And I went, you know what? You just pick up a razor. I said, if you were prepubescent or way younger, I would absolutely tell you not to do that. But at our age, it is not going to hurt a thing. And
Yeah.
so that is so funny you brought that up because I mean that is a big concern for me, for everybody. As you get older, you get all this fuzz, and then we get, of course, the coarse one or two, Aunt Jane's coarse hair that you're going to have forever. That we tell everybody they better pluck it when we can't. But
Well, we
anyway.
can't see them. It's like, where are
Well,
they?
exactly. And mine are definitely white now. So it's like, so you can all you can do is feel it.
Well, I do wonder though, thinking back, I would see you and I would see you at Christmas or when you would come visit, and I would think, she's so happy. You have this joy and this this light from within, which I know it's your spirituality and your Christianity
Yeah.
as well
Mhm.
that is helping all of that come out and in your personality. But I definitely feel like you're the reason that I came into this industry. And
It's
my
awesome.
yeah, yeah, thank you because I absolutely love it and it's been a positive light in my life for sure, you know? So thank you
Yeah.
for bringing me in.
Well, I don't know. I think so much. If is it DNA? Is it because is we are from a very educated family.
Yeah.
And I am really the only one in my sibling group that did not get a higher formal education. And it used to really bother me, but I'll tell you, this industry has just fed me. And I got up as excited today as at 70 as I did at 19. I'm not kidding. And I think when you have an industry and a profession that you love like that, it is priceless because there are very few individuals that have that. And I think also talking about a technical side of it that everyone is not going to go to college and in universities and get masters and doctorates and that's fabulous. But so many of us we have another road, and I think that we tend to look a little bit negative about it or down on ourselves because maybe we feel like we didn't reach another level, and it did used to really bother me, but now I feel just so grateful. And so I used to tell that to when I'd work with individuals that, if that's your path, that is your path. It has nothing to do with what you can't do. It's what you're going to do with it. So I feel strongly about that.
I mean, you went into the European license.
Right,
Um,
right. I did Tedesco. That's right, and studied. I mean, it's like getting you know, a doctorate in nursing, and I mean, it's very detailed. I do feel like I think God gives us gifts, and this was my gift of to be able to give back to people and care. I think you have to really care about people and want the best for them to help them, and that's what I've always tried to do. And when I would train, I've trained many, many people, and I would always say to them that don't follow the money. You take care of that client. You really, really help that client. Focus on what does that client need? What does that customer really need in her life as far as will make her feel better and that will help her skin and that will whatever it is. And I talk about so many things with my customers, and the money will come. The money is not number one. Period. I think you really have to understand that when you work it, and that comes through,
yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Going back to when we were talking about our dad and how everyone very well educated, um, but then more importantly, very well read. And I think
Very,
that might be
very.
like you and I share more than maybe some other people in the industry. And I would like to encourage people in the industry learn as much as you can. It's not just about what you've learned in school with this product lines
Oh my
teaching you.
gosh, that's nothing. I mean, that's like
Yeah,
nothing. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
and absolutely. And when I started, there was really no aesthetic school. And I would have had to go to Europe or New York and I just did not have the means to do that. And when I started esthetician, I started training under people. And I mean, they were some fabulous people. My first person, her name was Erica Miller. She trained in Japan. And so when you get that first level, it's really nothing. It's just getting the license. After that, you're really digging deep, diving deep the rest of your life, which is any
yes.
industry.
Oh, you would hope so. Yeah, I hope that our doctors and our anybody that's taking care of us is continuing their education throughout their life. It's so incredibly important for sure. So, and now
It
it's
is.
easier. with all of the internet things. So there's
Oh
really
my
not an
gosh.
excuse.
Well, it's yeah, there's so much information, which, that in itself you have to kind of watch. You have to, do your homework and your due diligence to check several areas because, sometimes information is not always correct. But yeah, yeah, it's there, there's just so much, with both of us and what we've done and our experiences like anybody. And don't you love to hear about women's lives? And I love to meet someone and talk to them about what they did. And I think I'm just so interested in business still. Even as a young girl, when I found out that someone was very successful, I wanted to go over there and then, what'd you do? And how'd you do that? And, what did you have to do to get there? And I've just always been very curious. And I still am. I love to hear about what people do in their work. And I think at my age, a lot of times individuals um, they don't talk about it anymore.
Mhm.
And I guess they don't wanna if they're very successful and very accomplished, they feel like that they can't talk about it or whatever. I don't know, but I love it. I love to meet people and do that because I think it's important that you don't
I
lose
think
yourself as you get older, and that's the sad thing. As we get older, we kinda do, and, life goes on.
a lot of times when people come to us, they're coming to us, yes, for a facial treatment, but sometimes people want to talk about things that are going on in their life. Maybe they don't have someone to talk to. They don't have somebody that
Definitely.
I don't like touch is a big thing, especially maybe a older person that doesn't have a spouse any
Mhm.
longer, or a younger person that doesn't have a spouse. So people are so starving
That's right.
for friendship. There's so much loneliness out there.
There is.
I would say more importantly than for techniques, treatments are important, but when I've moved places, I always go and to find my friends, usually at my local day spot, because I know that that's where I'll book an appointment and I'll kind of see, like, will this be the place that I work and I become friends with these people? Maybe not, but they were a little too just let me throw the cleanser on and get you out the door, sell you a few things. And then you have the people that really want to get to know you.
Mhm.
So personally, I've gone in for friendship myself before to
Yeah,
places.
dressers, your personal touch individuals exactly. And there's no barrier, there's no education with that. There's no they want that human contact, especially I mean now with the internet and being in the room by yourself and feeling like you've got friends and on the internet and it's there's a lot of sadness for me on that and I know we talked about that we just really have to watch that. I don't know, with especially our kids, and there's so many. It gets so complicated. Life is complicated, and I think it's a little bit more complicated now with all of that. Trying to hang on to your kids and make sure they're safe, and what's going on with the individuals that you don't know. You don't know what's going on. Um, it's just it's a different world, but it's a great world. And I think another aspect, I just talked to a friend today about that how positive we need to be to our kids, our young people, that this is their world. They can make a difference and be very positive about what they're going to do in life and not, be the old person that's going to, oh, the old days and da, da, da. I mean, you know, and they're gonna want to get away from you. They don't
Yeah.
wanna hear that, you
No.
know?
No.
So,
Well, I would like to revisit with our first question. We started to talk a little bit about the farm,
yes.
and if we kind of would circle back around to the farm, we let's talk about the farm. The farm was an interesting
Okay, the
place,
farm.
wasn't
Do
it?
you remember what the farm's name was?
No, did the farm have a
Buzzards
name?
Buzzards Roost.
Oh, okay. So
Daddy, our father had such a kind of biting, fun personality, and he would just make these things up, and he was just so funny. And I think that's where I really think that's where we get our humor from Daddy. Daddy had a really good sense of humor. He did,
Yes.
and, you'd catch him and, as our brother did, Thomas. Thomas was hilarious, and, so, anyway, that was the name of the farm. Can I show the picture?
Yeah, show the picture, please.
Handsome dad,
Yes.
can you say yeah?
Strong genes. You can see who we both look like here.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. We
Yes.
both look like him. He was very,
Mhm.
very a wonderful man and very accomplished and, but laid back. He
Yeah.
really was laid back. So,
Yeah. Very, very interesting story, but he had a huge farm in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas. I mean, just,
oh,
I'm telling you, like our nearest neighbor was a mile away. The Millers, they were
the
a mile,
Millers.
the Millers, they were a mile away. And it was a beautiful, big green, lush farm, 3 ponds, chicken houses, all the things.
The
Um,
cows, the
the
pigs, we had
cows.
everything, horses.
I remember doing things like mixing little ingredients out in the pasture with flowers and picking stuff from the gardens and just having fun with like making little potions and thinking of there's a lot of time of just like pretend and
Really,
creating our
on your
own
own,
your
entertainment
own.
on your own.
Yeah, big time. Like, just far away from an adult and just having a great time and just pretending and building. And I get that's the excitement I get when I had Spa in Maine and Arkansas. I would get that same excitement of, ooh, I can create this service menu and I'm going to pull in this promotion. And then it ties in with what the town is doing next month and how I can go and cross promote. You just kind of get these almost like crazy ideas because are people going to go for it? And it would always remind me of how much fun it was, the same energy that we would have, out there on the farm pretending and building and
That's right.
creating. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that is creativity at
Yeah.
its best. That's what it
Yeah.
is. And that's what we have, and I really do think we got a lot of that from daddy, and not realizing it. For me, I thought it came from mother's side, but I do. I think that we both are very creative. I'm of the opinion that you are born the way you're going to be the rest of your life. You come into the world the way you are. And I really believe that. Yes, you can change and grow, but so I think the farm had a lot to do with it as far as, when I mean, I really didn't work hard on the farm. I mean, my other siblings probably did a lot more work, but I did a little bit, but not much. And but yet I think being around the animals and doing all of those things added to my life, not and I really maybe won't even know how much it did add, when you think about it. I think we're both, again, very driven. It just from the get-go. I wanted to prove myself, and I do think with our parents that they were both successful and what they did and I don't know, I saw that and I was around it and then I wanted to prove myself. I just have always been that way. And hyper, very hyper. You're not very hyper, Laura. I'm very hyper.
I I am though. I really am. I just kind of my mom was very subdued. And I think she sort of, you know, pushed a little of my hyper out of me. She
Yeah.
kind of
Well,
squeezed it a little and
you got a little
it's
bit of
still
you got a little bit of both for both my parents were daddy, I think daddy was more low key, but mother was very high strung and I'm so much like that. And there's a story that Ellen, our sister, tells that when I was about 2, when I was supposed to be taking a nap, I would crawl out the window and run down the street in my diapers. And I was just always crazed. So I've learned to kind of, bring that in, but so
that's great.
anyway, I do think the farm helped both of us.
I worry with my kids sometimes that, there's too much, which I've taken away electronics, in their life. They were very limited. Olivia still does not have social media. She's 14 and she tells me she's the only one in
Good.
her class that
Good.
doesn't have social media. She has an Instagram, but it's really my Instagram. I post pictures. She has no access to it at all. But
Yeah.
I feel like that is huge. These kids, they need to be a little bored. They need to have time
I
to pick up a
know.
pencil and do a drawing, or go outside and pick flowers, or
On
take
their
a picture.
bike and ride and
Yes, yes,
yes.
yes. Yeah, for
I
sure. Daddy was the greatest generation type people. He was in World War II. And then I'm 49, and I know a lot of people, my generation, they just like, it's like their grandparents' age is my father's age.
That's
And I
right.
see it and I feel like an older generation because of certain things that were taught to me. I'm sort of surprised by some of the things that their parents never showed them. And it makes me a
Yeah.
little sad for my generation and younger that, they
Yeah.
got so latchkey and put in front of a television and just learned how to do everything on their own. I
Yeah.
definitely feel like I got the benefit of knowing, how to take care of myself.
That's how I feel too. I mean, I feel like I'm very, I can pretty much do anything, and I love being outside. I love working in my yard. Is everybody when they see this? I mean, I'm like a fanatic with my yard, and I do think that definitely that love of that came from being raised outdoors and daddy. I would follow along and would feed the cows and on the tractor and, just all the things that we remember. But, we also have to remember that those others that are, they have many things we don't. Those individuals that maybe don't know how to change a tire or whatever, they may be able to add 4 or 5 numbers.
Yeah.
I can't do that. So, everybody has their talent.
You and I, we were struggling earlier getting on our Riverside app. Like we were like, oh, can we
I know.
just?
I know. I know.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That is
Yes.
exact. And I see that Austin, who, I mean, he can, change a tire too and do all those things, but he definitely had more city upbringing, better with computers. It was more important. It was important to him. He grew up with
Mhm.
parents that wanted him to learn how to do those things. And
He had younger parents.
yeah,
Yeah, and
exactly.
that's yeah. That's the thing. I think, so there's wonderful things, and that's so great that y'all are together, and that's the success of you 2 together. The same thing with Don, my late husband. I mean, he was so awesome, and, he very laid back, very organized, a fabulous manager. And that's why I really feel like with both of us together, working together, it was gold. Yeah, it was perfect.
And talking about Dawn, kind of get me back into where when you started at 18 in the beauty industry, and then what led you. You were saying, earlier how there wasn't aesthetics programs, but then what made you go from hair to then becoming interested in skin?
I'm going to try to put it all in a nutshell because it's, 60 years of all this. There was no aesthetic school. And so I became a hairdresser and I was a colorist and a hairdresser and I loved it. Then when Dawn and I met, we were both very ambitious. He worked in the corporate world and we always knew that we were going to open our own business. And so, when we lived in Minnesota when we first married, where the corporate office is of his company, and then we were transferred to Lubbock, Texas. And I think it was 1985 is when we were transferred to Lubbock. And we opened up a very small business. And then quickly we went into a shopping center and we started with 1,250 square feet. We went to 2,500. We went to 3,000. We went to 4,000. We had the whole front strip of that shopping center within probably, gosh, I mean, I know it was 3 years. It may have been less than 3 years. And we did all sorts of things, just crazy things. Don was very forward thinking in business, and then I was very forward thinking in our industry of what we could do in that industry and what was going on at that time. Like glamour photography was big then. Well, we did that. I mean, and so many funny stories about, oh my gosh, about that, because, we had no idea what we were doing. He goes out and bought this extremely expensive camera, this Kodak camera that, was thousands of dollars. And the first time we did a session, I had to do all the labor work, the makeup and the hair, and I had the backdrop and the clothes that changed 4 times. Well, the first one, he forgot to put the film in the camera.
Oh no.
I mean, 2 hours later, so just crazy
Yeah.
stuff. So then he, though, began to think. He looked around, and this was really before booth lease was a thing. Most salons were commission. And he said, you know what? We need to buy a building. And no one in our area had bought a building. And so we were able to do a lot of firsts. And because a lot of things were not done. And I think that's where our benefit came from. And we were very fortunate. There were many, many fabulous hairdressers in Lubbock, Texas. There were many fabulous individuals, business individuals. But when we came in, we were able to do a lot of firsts that were not done. And so, it kind of put a lot of spotlight on us. But Don was just very forward thinking. So he bought a almost 8,000 square foot building, and he worked night and day to put that together. And then, it evolved. We had a boutique. At that point, or a little bit before that, I started wanting to do skincare. Really, that was always my first love. Going back to when I was a child, I would actually mix stuff like Noxzema, and I'd put oil or whatever with it. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. And so, um, we had really great estheticians that worked for us. When the last one quit, retired or moved or whatever, well, I can't even remember what happened, but that's when I went back to school and I started training. And I mean, it was like just a huge light went off. And I fell in love, and I started doing all sorts of things. And we opened up a skincare facility there, and the business just boomed. And
What year was that?
it was probably in the early '90s when when that started. But we called it the mothership. We had that 8,000 square foot uh, a salon, a day spa, and then we opened another salon down by our university at Texas Tech. And it was a new development and a beautiful facility, apartments above, businesses below. We did that for a while, and then my dream was, of course, then we opened the medical day spa, several years later, and it was fantastic. And you know, I think back on visuals, and anybody watching this, if you can dream it and see it, it's already done. You just have to get from here to there. And I've always believed that. And I would visualize something, and I never thought about, well, how am I going to do that? I of course would do that and plan, but it was like it was really already done. And
Yeah.
that is what, and I think anyone in the industry, when they have that, really in any industry, that is where you're in the right field. And so I remember talking to I call her my superstar, my girl that worked for us at the medical spa. And I remember I had lunch with her. I'd never met her before. And we were opening the medical spa, and I was hiring staff. And I looked at her and said, "We are going to be very, very busy." And I said, "You are going to be overwhelmed. And I have to know that you know within yourself that you are going to be able to do that, because these are the things I'm going to want you to do to help customers, to train, to teach them." And I knew that how busy it was going to be. So then, we did that. And then, of course, there's just so much in between. You take 30 years, 25 years of all the in betweens. And So that's, that's kind of a little nutshell of how it evolved.
Well, the manifesting, everyone says that. Anyone that has reached a level of success in whatever they're doing says that they knew that they were just going to do that. And it's like you put it in your brain and your brain believes it before it actually happened. When we
Yes.
went to the bank to get our loan to open spa on Main, the banker asked me, "Well, what happens if this doesn't succeed?" And I literally went through my mind, "Well, it's gonna succeed. What is he's crazy to even ask me this question?" I told myself, "Well, I get a job and I pay off this loan," but in my head, I'm thinking, "There's no plan B. This is it.
No,
This is
there never
happen."
is a plan B.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
was very successful. It's just, and I have had then other times, right after the pandemic, after moving here to California, and not really knowing if something was going to be successful, and thinking, well, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of put my toes in and just see. And it not necessarily wasn't successful, but it was what I put my head to. It was I put my toes in, and it was kind of okay. But maybe that's also God telling us this is the right path. This isn't the right path. Also, I just
Absolutely.
this new Michael Jackson movie, and they were talking about Michael Jackson and how he would wake up in the middle of the night and have a song in his head, and he would get up and he would write it, and it would be totally done before sunrise. A whole song would be done, and people were, why couldn't that wait till the morning? And he's like, because God would have given that to Prince and he would have done it before me. And I'm like,
That's funny.
maybe that's it. If you don't take those opportunities, maybe they do kind of pass you by a little bit. So, it's good to act
I think
on
action.
things.
I,
Action is so important.
Action is a huge part of it, and I mean, I think, that and I am a real planner and action driven. And if things are not gonna work out, then the turn you will see it. You will know, when it's time. And Don was really good about that. His timing was really good because, he knew when to sell and he knew what we should do. And, he gave us we moved to a fabulous place, Naples, Florida, and we had 9 years that were just so wonderful, before he became ill. And, yeah, all these things in life, I think all of it's just right up here, the positivity, and we all have, believe me, I have had many, many dark times. I'm not, you know, it's, but you learn that it will pass and you learn how to deal with it. And of course, my faith, I think we all just have to find what we need, to get through those times. And life is never going to miss anyone on sadness and grief. It's just not, you're not going to get passed over. But life is wonderful.
Do you do things also to help you stay on a positive mindset? Do you journal? Do you meditate? Do you set
Movement, movement.
movement? Mhm.
I'm telling you, for me, and I really believe for anybody, and this is my philosophy, and I've said this to so many people. When something is when it's bad, I just don't think about it. I just
Yeah.
shut it down. And we've talked about this before, where things would happen in business. And, when you have a business as large as we did, there were times when we almost had 100 people that worked with us. When we had our three businesses at one time, I mean, it was overwhelming. And it's every day there's something you've got to do. Something's happening, something's going on, a decision you have to make. And when we've had things where, in our business and in any business, you have a walkout. You have a group of people that maybe have an opportunity somewhere else. That's probably the most difficult time for a business person, to when you have poured into someone and a group, and they're all of a sudden want to leave, and it's very self-reflective. I mean, you think, well, what did I do? And a lot of times it's not your story. It's not what you did. It's their path. When I had that happen one time, went and I purchased, I'd heard about this book called The Amazing Results of Positive Thinking by Vincent Peale, an old book. He's, back in the generation of daddy, of other individuals, but it's a great book because it teaches how to bring it down on a level of how to stay positive, and remembering that it's also the other individual's story that's being dealt with, not just yours. And so even though you did everything, or you did the best you could, they have another path. And I just think that's so important. It really did change my life. There's a couple of things that really turned my life around as far as trying to stay focused and positive. But movement for me is very big. I go work in my yard. I take my dog Emmy for a walk. I go see my kids. Whatever it is, and of course, prayer, I mean, all of it.
Yeah. If somebody's leaving you, if somebody's leaving your business to go work somewhere else, they need to. I mean, they
Mhm.
need to go
That's
because
right.
they aren't aligned with you anymore. You've had your time together.
It's just life. Everybody has a different journey. That's one thing also with when Dawn and I ran this business, we really felt like that we worked for the people that worked with us. We wanted them to make as much money as they could for their family. So we set up a beautiful area. We were there to do what they needed to support them. I think that is, you have to take yourself out of the equation. I mean, you have to be a servant. And I think that's one thing that we did try to do. I mean, believe me, I made a lot of mistakes, and I hurt feelings. I did things that now I look back and think, you really messed up that. You just did. You didn't look enough at the whole picture. But overall, I think we did pretty good. And because we really did have that philosophy of wanting them to succeed.
Yes.
That's the
Yes.
thing. When they succeed, you succeed. It's kind of like goes back to the money thing of, don't put the money first. The
Yeah.
money will follow if you're doing what you were supposed to do to give back.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And I think that that shows through in all that you do. I I've had people ask me before in job interviews, what's your biggest achievement in life? And I really thought hard about that, about, what my biggest achievement in life. And I feel like my biggest achievement is not so much the facial touch, which I do feel like I'm excellent at doing a facial. I definitely got that skill mastered, but it's the impact that I was able to make in the small community of El Dorado when
Mhm.
I had my business, and all of those girls and one gentleman that came in to work with me, and I was able to help them. El Dorado at the time didn't have an aesthetics program and had a cosmetology school. So I was hiring cosmetologists and then teaching them aesthetics. And Lucy came, thank you so much. Lucy came to El Dorado and helped me
That's
hands on training with my employees there. And I was funny, we would always joke when you would come to town, there was the television show Tabitha's Salon Takeover. And I'm like, hey, Lucy's coming. It's Lucy's Salon Takeover. Everybody be on their best behavior. Oh, they loved it. They adored it. And, the community loved it too. They'd come, we'd have special events. It was so much fun.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
looking back on my life so far, and yeah, some of those ladies did walk out and some of them did do some other things, and they made me a little mad and I made them a little mad, and
I
things
know.
happened occasionally. But I am so proud and happy that they were able to go and build something great with their life out of me starting a little business in a town. And now there is an esthetician school there, and they're doing great there in El Dorado. So
That was another kind of caveat that I was thinking about earlier, who affected my life. And daddy, daddy was the one that that introduced that little school, or was a big school then in Lubbock, Jessie Lee Sharpley. She was fabulous, Laura. I remember being at that school and daddy said, "You need to come to this school." I never thought about doing this business. Not one time when I was a child. Can you believe that? Never entered my mind. Never thought, well, I'm going to do this. I'll be a hairdresser. I never even. And he called me on the phone. I'll never forget it. And he said, "There's a school here that I think you need to go to." And I'm telling you, it turned my life around when that happened. But there was the girl, the woman that started that school was world known. She won world title. That was when pin curls were in. Oh my gosh, pin curls. I mean, she was fabulous. She wrote the books. I can't even tell you. And I remember looking at her. She was so elegant, and the clothes she wore, out of sight, fabulous clothes. And I remember looking at her thinking, I'm going to be like that. I mean, and the success, and she had the drive, all the things she did. So we all have those people in our lives.
yeah.
Uh, and so then when I got older, I hoped and tried. And I appreciate you saying that, but I really do. I do. And I've just been so proud of you because of you've done many, many different things than I've ever done, Laura.
Well,
I've stuck, you and Austin have really just done so many wonderful things. Such creative minds, both of you.
well, thank you.
So that's one thing about, I think, a lot of parents of our generation, or my generation and yours, just because your parents were older. Um, they they may not have said all these lovey-dovey things, but when they said something to you and looked at you and really focused, it absorbed in you.
What made you decide to create your own line of product?
I want the highest level. Whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm going to bring in, I want the best. I'm not looking at, and that's what we sold, the most corrective medical line in the industry, as you
Mhm.
know.
Yes.
Most products are not medical that say they're medical. A medical line is going to involve Retin-A, is going to involve, at that time, 4% hydroquinone, which now you have to have a prescription for that. But at that time, that really was the highest medical line, and we sold it. And I mean, it was fabulous. That I've always had the philosophy of correction. That is my platform. I'm not into fluff. I'm not into the aroma. My packaging is geared to protect, because my products, I want them to correct. That is what my focus is. But when Don was ready to retire and we moved, I wanted to develop product. And my first line was a body care, because I saw that we had all this skincare, but really nothing corrective for the body. If somebody's going to develop a product, you really have to think about, what is it that you want. Right now, the big trend is pure, clean, organic, and I completely agree with that. However, there is a limit. You have to have activity in a product if it's going to be a corrective line. You have to. And organic and the natural products, most of the time, they are not corrective. I mean, they're going to take care of the skin. They're beautiful. There are so many wonderful products out there, but my focus was correction. So I had to find labs to find those ingredients. And ingredients are like grades of food. They're high and there's low. And when you're wanting to develop a product, you must find labs that are going to offer that and know where they get the ingredients, the process they go through. And I have chosen not to put a lot of preservatives in my products, because I feel like the activity level is brought down. So I move my products. A lot of investigation. The labs are very important. And basically, I was just not ready to retire. And Dawn, I mean, we talked about what it took me. I had someone help me do a website, just basic. Well, then as I got into it, I realized, it was really, it had to be the next level. And so I found a woman um, that really, really changed my trajectory on professionalism, how to create ads, how to be really an artist and do all the logos. And I think you've got her link. Her name is Kat Karoy, and she is excellent. If there's any one of your viewers that need help, she talks about everything. She takes you from A to Z. She was the main one that really turned my business for the internet around, because this was a whole new business for me. The internet, this is another, the learning curve on this is straight up. You know, it was difficult at my age. I mean, I did radio, television, advertising. I wrapped my car. I did lots of advertising, but this is a whole different platform.
So with your product, you were saying you went to labs, you went to like compound pharmacists, and that's
Yes.
where
Yes. That's what you have to do. To really, when you really have a vision, and my body wash has got glycolic, salicylic acid, 9 enzymes from fruits. I mean, it is exfoliating. And so it makes your body smooth. I use a cloth. Matter of fact, I have it right here. I sell it on my website. It's called the Strap. And um and it is rough, and you use this body wash, and I'm telling you, your skin is like silk. And any pore bumps, any Polaris dermatitis on the back of your arms, all of these things. And so the body wash, my lotion is fabulous, and then my walnut mint, which I still is really one of my number one sellers. It's just a great exfoliant, and I use it for face and body.
I could not keep the walnut mint on the shelf. Sold the spot. I still had people reaching out to me, and I would just give them your website. I'm like, this, here it is.
When you purchase from me, and I tell my customers this all the time, it's like you're purchasing wholesale. My vitamin C, which is this one, I don't know, yeah, the little one right here, it is 49. And I mean, which I may have to go up because of shipping. Shipping is eating our lunch. It's just, you're on the first level. I mean, there's all these cost levels, and when you're buying retail, you're into for sure 3 levels. Well, really, you're into 1 level with me. I have it made, and then I'm selling it. But it has 3 C's. They're all derivatives of L-ascorbic. L-ascorbic is your base vitamin C, but you also are blending it with these other precursors to where it doesn't oxidize. The stability is stable, and when it becomes oxidized, you lose so much activity that, I mean, within weeks. The type of bottle is important. I mean, a lot of my products are in a brown bottle. That's one thing too. All of my products are hand-free, all of them. They have pumps, they're screwed on. A lot of thought, a lot of care of what is in the product. I mean, that's what's huge for
Yeah.
me. Correction. That's just all there is to it, is the correction of it. So
It's
yeah.
it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. And it will fade away your, pigment issues and tighten up that skin.
The cloth and the body wash. A lot of people have keratosis, and as they get older, they've got these growths because they're not scrubbing enough. And I don't know if they don't realize it, that you can actually get those down. And that strap goes over the back. A lot of keratosis is on the back because you're not, you can't reach your back. Your legs from sun. Um, your arms, your chest. Oh my gosh, chests can be a nightmare.
It's just tissue buildup. And physicians rarely talk about the tissue buildup on your skin. Lucy is so good at educating. You were so good at educating me and then educating my employees on It's so important. If you want the products to penetrate, if you want your vitamin C to do
Exactly.
what it needs to do and
Exactly.
your antioxidants to get in there and your skin to really transform, you have to get rid of that
Yeah.
excess tissue. And your products do it. It's amazing. And we will have a link to all of Lucy's products. As far as carrying your line, is that something that our estheticians can reach out
Well,
to you?
yes, they can reach out to me and we can have that conversation. Yes, yes, I did do more of wholesaling is what we're talking about, and
Yes.
so I I go back to I'm kind of a little bit semi-retired, Laura, if you can believe it. So I'm trying to not be just 24/7, which, I do work a lot, but, so yes, all those conversations, I'm always open to, to whatever, and I'm always open to help, and, if someone doesn't wanna wholesale, but they just wanna text a message or, that's what I'm here for. I mean, until that's just what I'm here for. So many products, Laura, that really are good and that do work, but the customers don't know how to use them. They don't know the order. They don't know the ingredient. I mean, we don't have to really. We talked about this, how there's so many gurus on the web now that are so much smarter than I am, and that go into the just unbelievable things of how the body works, and I know a lot of it, but really customers don't care about that. I mean, they just want to know that something is really going to work and trust you. And that's what I have found, and that's what's been so frustrating to me in the business, that someone at my age, that they have not been taught.
What Lucy does is something that I feel like everybody should do. You have a prescription pad and you have
Exactly.
exactly the steps. So
Correct.
it is foolproof. All of your steps are right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, what you do, how many pumps, how much you do it, how often,
Exactly,
what to
how to
expect.
warm it up. Right. One
Mhm.
tiny little thing, and I don't know if I've ever said this to you, but when you're pumping a product and it's a liquid or whatever it is, you put it on your fingertips, warm it up, pat it from the hairline in, because what happens is we put it right here. And this is normally where the damage is. So you end up just feathering very little product on the edges. And so you start from the hairline in, because normally the T zone doesn't even need that much product, because that's not where the damage is.
That's such good advice. Being an esthetician and having looked at thousands of faces at this point, that is, you can see that person's really, they are using their products right here. But here, yeah, that's where they're dropping and that's where the sunspots are
That's
showing
right.
up.
That's
So
right.
yeah, that's really good advice. And no, you haven't ever told me that before. So
Okay.
I learned
Well,
something new today as
it
well. So
is.
that's
I
awesome.
know it is. It's just, I always say tiny steps create 100%. That is, it's the tiny, like your health. We haven't even talked about health.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my gosh, it's huge. Your oils, talk about salmon and avocados, and like I had a can of sardines today. I'm sure everybody's glad they're not here with me. But I mean, oils are huge to
Yeah.
eat, to ingest, and all the fruits and the vegetables. And, and I'm a meat eater. I'm not a vegetarian. But the balance of all of it.
Yes, we should do a whole episode on that. And
Yeah,
there's so much to it. Skin is fascinating, and our
it
bodies are
is. Yeah, our bodies, because what you are on the inside is a reflection. I mean, that on the outside, and
fascinating.
it is. It's a big study. It's a big study.
Yeah. Maybe if you were to go on a vacation, what's the one thing that you have to take with
Oh my
you?
gosh, I'd have to take. I mean, there's so many things because everything's so important. Um, I mean, I'd have to probably honestly, I mean, I don't know, Laura. I mean, your cleanser, I mean, I'm just so fanatical about every single step because you have to do it. Probably I'd have to say my vitamin C, the vitamin C, because vitamin C really is your number one antioxidant. It has the Caduca plum, which is the number one in the world. It has the 3 C's, the derivative of the L-ascorbic. It has the gold. It's just a phenomenal product that's really put together to correct and lighten and feed the tissue to make the cells healthy. I mean, that's the number one goal on the inside and outside is keeping your cells DNA healthy. I mean, that's it. Yeah.
$49 for an amazing vitamin C is
Yeah.
incredible. So
Yeah.
yes, that's linked below. And I would like to share one of my favorite products is also one of Lucy's products, the walnut mint that we talked about earlier. That is, I love the vitamin C as well. But one of those good like gift items, that one right there, people love that as a gift. It makes a wonderful gift. Like I
Yeah.
said, men love it, women love it. You can use it as your scrub, amazing scrub. Like you're going to glow. You want that glass skin after you've used a scrub. That's the one right there. Also, leave it on a little bit longer. It'll help to pull out some excess oils without over drying the skin. So you can use it as a mask. You can use it on your body. Like I said, you can shape your
Yeah.
legs with it as well. So you get that extra exfoliation in your chest. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
It
So
is. It's one of my original products, and it's amazing. But, there's so many products out there. I think the key is to really work with someone, to really know that who you're working with is outlining exactly what to do and how to do it. And there's so much information too on my website. I mean, I've got everything about the ingredients, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then of course I'm a text and an email away. I answer. I end my blogs with, I'm Lucy Lindsey and I'm not AI. I think that we need that human contact.
yes, definitely. What's the price point on that? That's like 24.
It's
Is
24.
that $24? Well, they're beautiful, and I can tell you put your passion and your heart into it. Highly recommend. I send it to my girlfriends all the time. I'm like, check out my sister's products. They're amazing. Your videos come across occasionally of the for you videos, and it's
Right.
you. Oh, there's Lucy, and I'll stop and watch, and then I send them to my friends. I'm like, this is my sister. Isn't
Yeah.
she cool?
Well, some of them are, I'm not, those of you out there that are afraid, I started this, I guess I was 60, probably 4, and you just have to do it. And you've got something to offer, and you will find your audience, and you may not be a million people. I'm far from, I'm in the hundreds. I mean, you just do the best you can, and just don't worry about it and have fun.
I love that. I think that's a great thing to say. And, that's exactly right. We can start new things at any point in our life.
Anyway,
And yes, any age, and bring things that are our gifts. If you're out there and you're looking at starting something and you might feel like you're a little too old for it, or you're a little too whatever, or, it's just like you said, that positive mindset, and just start looking into things, and yeah, the world's your oyster.
things
So
will happen. Mhm.
things will happen. It's
Yeah.
great. Well, thank you for being a
Thank
part of our show
I
today.
know,
I'm sorry that
Laura,
Brandy
thank
couldn't make it today, but I'm so glad that we had the chance to visit so much. That's awesome.
Yes, thank you, Laura. You're doing a great job. I enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you.